Thank you very much. Thank you, Brad. It really is a pleasure to be here, and especially this opportunity with the launch of the Genome UP, I guess you can't say UP program because the last Keynote program, we have the same problem with GAPP. And it really has been fun, I would say, developing the national program, GAPP, that I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, at the same time that Genome BC has been developing UP. And it does reflect the way that we do work together. And since the beginning, we have had tight links with the regional genome centers, who we really feel are the feet on the ground and within the regions, the organizations that really have the pulse of the regions, whether it's industry, the academics, the research community more broadly, the governments, at all levels. And that's what really allows, I think, the genomics program in Canada to be so successful. Because we, at the national level, we don't have that same pulse, we don't have that same ability to interact. And so the UP program, I think, is really reflective of the needs for this region in British Columbia. And I think it dovetails nicely with the more national program that I'm going to describe. So I thought I'd start with a little bit of history, not as far back as Brad talked about, but back about 12 years. And many of you were around at that time, I know, when Genome Canada and the regional genome centers were really getting off the ground. But I thought that it would be a good chance to sort of transition into where we are today by talking about how we got there. And so the first slide, so people in this room I'm sure have seen a version of this slide because I think that it was from a Genome BC strategic plan. And I'm sure that it came to Ottawa with Pierre when he traveled east. And Jenny, who works with me, I said, can you make it a little bit different? So she made it chromosomes, and she would not put arrows on the ends of those chromosomes. So we do not plan to end in 2020. We plan to continue on, but we thought that we would use this as just a little bit of a different view. So just some history. The need was identified in the late 1990s for Canada to have its own genomics program. We were not part of the Human Genome Project, although we did have a number of great young Canadian scientists working in labs around the world. Some of them are probably in this room here today, and we were grateful to be able to bring them back. Genome Canada was really the inspiration of a grassroots movement by leading genomics researchers in Canada such as Michael Smith, and also leaders of national funding organizations such as Henry Friesen and Art Carty. And the first years were focused on building capacity, whether research, genomics research, GELS research, technology, of course, that's key to the success of this very technology-driven program, and people. As one of our first Science and Industry Advisory Committee members said, we really needed to water the desert in Canada because we did not have the capacity here to make a statement on the international scene. And so started the regional genome centers were created, became our partners. Through that first competition, we were able to support science and technology innovation centers in a number of the regions, as well as large-scale projects through very creatively named open competitions called Competition 1, Competition 2, and Competition 3. You can tell I was leading the peer review process at that time at Genome Canada with my very creative mind. But it was not long before Canadian scientists were recognized as international leaders in a number of the areas of genomics, whether it was human health, forestry, we have one of the strongest conifer genomics programs in the world, salmon, and just to name a few, and I don't know if Julian was here, but Julian Davies had always said that microbes ruled, and I think we're finding that, and some of the first research in that area was funded in Genome BC. As the discovery pipeline was being built, and we continue to build and build it. Examples of application of genomics research were beginning to pop up. I think it was no longer just pumping out research results, but we were actually seeing that we can have an impact. And so we became a little more creative, and we started having applied research competitions. The first one being launched in 2004, the Applied Human Health Competition, then the Applied Competition in Bioproducts and Crops, I think that was 2009, and then the Forestry and Environment one in 2010, and then most recently the one in Personalized Health that we partnered with CIHR. And so this is just a bit of a snapshot of what the portfolio looks like at this point. The upper half just shows the large-scale projects that have been funded over the last 12 years by sector and by region. You'll see, of course, some very obvious ones, fisheries on the two coasts, Genome Atlantic, Genome BC, forestry, Genome BC, Genome Quebec, prairie is more of the agriculture. And I think it's reflective of the point I was trying to make, and that the regional genome centers really build the strengths of these sectors in their regions. And I think that is reflected by the scientific strengths in the region, as well as through this UP program, I think we'll see the nice link and partnership with the user community. We've invested $1 billion of the federal government's, or I guess our money, taxpayer money, and then another $1 billion from partners that really were brought to these projects by the regional genome centers, doing a lot of work. Provinces were certainly great partners, and in this province in particular has been a great partner in funding this. Of course, also the scientists brought with them their funding partners. Some of them had links with industry already, and so we've been very fortunate to have a $2 billion investment over those years. The lower part shows some of the cross-cutting initiatives, such as the large-scale GELS research projects that we funded. Of course, as you know, we have a requirement that there's a GELS project embedded in all of the large-scale projects. The entrepreneurial education program, and I think Genome BC had one as well. One of the fun ones, a technology development competition that we held that I think was something different for us, smaller scale projects, but very interesting, and we're actually working with our Science and Industry Advisory Committee to develop the parameters of another competition in that area. And of course the Science and Technology Innovation Centers, which the initial ones launched in year one. We were very fortunate to be able to build on existing facilities and human resources, and in BC, of course, at the Genome Sciences Center, and also at the University of Victoria Proteomics platform. And soon we'll be adding to this list our first targeted competition on bioinformatics and computational biology, which I'm headed back on the red-eye tonight to Ottawa because we're going to be reviewing those in the next couple days. So we are now at the stage, as Brad has talked about as well, including in our portfolio the opportunity to fund translational research. And this decision was inevitable, but really came about following the strategic planning consultations that we held in 2010. I remember we came out to BC, and we certainly enjoyed that consultation, which resulted in the development of Genome Canada's strategic plan for 2012-2017, which we're hoping the federal government will fund at the level that we requested. So why is it relevant? I think Brad talked a bit about how important demonstrating, and so did Alan actually, about really getting the research into the hands of the users. And so, you know, what's going on? Let's put this in the context more globally. Like many countries, Canada is facing profound economic and social upheaval in the face of a changing global landscape. Shifting economic orders, increasing intense international competitiveness, dramatic shifts in population dynamics, widespread and significant climatic variations are some of the variables that are reshaping our economy and our prosperity and our values. And we really believe that our future lies in biology. Our economy depends on our ability to innovate and increase productivity. We are a very resource-based economy, and I think there's a great opportunity in Canada. And we believe that our continued success hinges on the emergence of a vibrant bioeconomy where scientific discoveries power industrial innovations and markets. And we believe that it can be an economy with genomics at its core. So we do face some challenges. Canadian science and technology is healthy and growing in both output and impact, and a recent study on the state of science and technology in Canada by the Council of Canadian Academies said that we have less than 0.5% of the world's population, we produce 4.1% of the world's scientific papers, and nearly 5% of the world's most frequently cited papers. So we really do lift above our weight in that area. However, we are weaker in the when we measure patents and other metrics that talk about innovation and productivity. And so, despite once again 4.1% of the world's scientific papers, we only hold 1.7% of the world patents. And so this is something that has been talked about for quite a while, and there are studies have repeatedly, Canadian studies, whether it was commissioned by the federal government or other bodies, have repeatedly documented that business innovation in Canada lags behind other highly developed countries. And I just show here some of the documents that talk about that. And a quote from one said that this gap is a vital concern because innovation is the ultimate source of the long-term competitiveness of businesses and the quality of life of Canadians. So we believe that the genomics community in Canada really has a role to play in this, and Genome Canada and the regional genome centers have been working towards this. And so going forward, and this Genome Canada will place a greater emphasis than before on translating discoveries into applications. Again, what Alan was talking about, that lead to economic and social benefits in strategic sectors. We have identified 7 sectors, but basically these are the sectors representing broadly the life sciences, and also engaging with users. As Brad had talked about, developing pull programs that we will work with users such as industry, government, resource managers, policymakers, regulators, etc., to identify the challenges or opportunities. And right now this is going on through a process that is being led by the regional genome centers. It's a sector strategy development process in which 4 are currently underway, 1 in agri-food, 1 in forestry, 1 in fisheries and aquaculture, and 1 in energy and mining. And these will really help guide us and also inform those users of, as Brad had talked about, the value that genomics can bring to their addressing some of their challenges or opportunities. So although we are putting more emphasis on that, we will still ensure that we continue to fund discovery research and support cutting-edge technology. Because we have to prime this pipeline. And we need this technology because, as we know, this is a rapidly advancing area, and we need Canada to be at the leading edge of that. So this strategic approach is reflected in Genome Canada's strategic plan and in our new vision and mission. So the vision is to harness that transformative power of genomics to deliver benefits to Canada. And our mission is to lead the Canadian genomics enterprise. And so that is everybody who has anything to do with genomics, and that's those who fund it, those who undertake the research, those who partner in it, and those who will exploit it into applications, and also those who will ultimately use it. And so we want to do this by connecting ideas and people across the public and private sectors to find new uses and applications for genomics. Invest, again, in large-scale science and technology to fuel that innovation, and then translate those discoveries into applications to maximize input across all sectors. So I'm going to talk to you now about GAPP, and so that is, and I have to get the S's in the right place, the Genomic Applications Partnership Program. And It's really the first translation program that Genome Canada is intending to launch. It is still under development. We are still consulting, so this was a great opportunity for me to come and share this with you, which we will continue to do until the proposed launch in April. And like UP, the project supported will be partnerships between academics and users. Brad listed the broad range of users, and we feel the same way. Those are the individuals who will exploit the results of the research. There will be user pull, as in UP, and we will be identifying key challenges and opportunities defined by the sector users, some of which will be defined through the sector strategy process that's ongoing. One of the differences between the programs is that we are really focused. It's a translation program for us, whereas the Genome BC one goes further along the spectrum, I believe, from basic to translation. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the next few slides because I think Brad really covered them very nicely when he talked about the UP program. Very, very similar. You know, we really want to demonstrate that economic and social value of genomics research. We want to address the key sector challenges facing those users, and not all of it has to be commercialization, but of course we will promote commercialization. But it's other applications, as Brad talked about. It could be policy changes, it could be changes in regulatory programs. And we also want to create and foster a more productive interface between academia, and I'm talking academia at large, and that means, you know, in research institutes associated with hospitals and academic institutions, with the users. You know, Pierre often says that there is so much great science that is out there in academia, and it's sitting there, and we really need to ensure that it gets out to the users. So again, types of projects, probably the only difference, as I said here, from the UP program is number 3. We're focused more downstream, proof of concept, validation, product or tool development projects. They have to have some market potential or other measurable impacts, such as a application impact on policy. We have $30 million that we want to launch this program with from Genome Canada funding. The total program will amount to at least $90 million, and that's because, as with all of our programs, it's co-funding. We will provide 1/3 support for the projects, and 2/3 must be from the co-funders. And 1/3 of that must be from the user or the co-funder that is actually going to exploit the results of the project. And that was something that our advisory committee that's been working on this was very clear about. They want to ensure that those partners have skin in the game, and that they are actually, that is the best chance that we're going to have success. And this has certainly been, through our consultations, something that has been made very clear. Our project scale, as well, we have larger and smaller projects. You'll see the range here. We can go from terms of 6 months to a maximum term of 3 years. Evaluation criteria, similar, I think, to what Brad was talking about. Eligibility, first of all, it has to be this active partnership between academia and the users, and not just somebody putting money in. There has to be this real link, and that really will come through that pull that we're talking about, that it's addressing that user's need. You know, the standard user relevance and benefits to Canada, ability to deliver, you know, standard things, technical aspects, and you know, it has to be feasible, of course, and then management and financial. That we have to have proper management. We're going to require, the current thinking is that the IP terms be agreed to upfront before coming for application. We've been consulting on this, and certainly we will probably give some very broad bookends or parameters, but we understand that each project will be unique, and there should be some flexibility in there. It's just come to us with those issues resolved. So a little bit about the process. So this will not be business as usual at Genome Canada peer review. It will not take a year from the time we launch the competition. This is more like a VC type program. Proposal development, we are going to be relying very heavily on our regional genome centers, and I know Genome BC, with developing its own program, is gearing up and ready for this, that will work with the potential applicants. Submit proposals. Again, one of the things will be IP terms determined up front, and this will be reviewed by a GAPP portfolio manager. This person does not yet exist in Genome Canada, but we are beginning active recruitment because this individual will be key to the success of this program. It will be the responsibility of that GAPP portfolio manager to undertake the evaluation, the technical, the due diligence by using external reviews. And then that will be put forward to this core evaluation team that we will set up, which will be made of experts with expertise in commercialization, IP, financing, venture capital, public policy, etc. So the team that can really take that information and then make a recommendation to Genome Canada's board on whether or not to invest. Like Genome BC's program, there will be a rolling intake, and we're not exactly sure of the timelines yet, but most likely we will say that this core evaluation team will meet quarterly. We will say we will need X number of days in order to review a particular application, whether it's 60, 90, whatever. So if you want to go to the March 2014 meeting of the core evaluation team, you need to ensure that you submit your proposal in sufficient time to do that. If you miss that cutoff, you just go to the next quarterly meeting. So trying to be much more in line with industry's timelines. Together, the GAPP portfolio manager and the core evaluation team will be responsible for managing the overall portfolio. And we also understand that sometimes the partner, the user, maybe it'll be big pharma, have their own due diligence, technology review, and so we would be willing to not duplicate their work and to take that review, and the portfolio manager will digest it and see if they feel comfortable enough to accept that and make a recommendation forward to the core evaluation team. So once again, we're trying to think of new ways to do things that are much more user-friendly. I'm really not going to spend any time on this because I think they were almost exactly the same as the UP program, and we really are excited about this initiative, and I think that one of the key outcomes will really be to demonstrate to those people out there, those organizations, industries, whatever, the value of genomics research, and we can have clear application of what has been invested in over the past 12 years. So the next steps, we're going to continue our consultations January and February, and we will go to our board in March. We've already gone with concept, of course, a few times to our board, but with the final program and application forms, and the proposal is to launch in April. That's it for me. I think it's a great opportunity to be able to share this with you and maybe get some input if there's time into the program. And I don't, maybe, Brad, you'd like to do the same with the UP? I don't know what the time's like.
Yep, we have time for some questions.
Okay.
We have time for questions, so if anybody has, and you know, we're recording this, so if you don't mind, what we're going to do is bring around the microphone if you do have a question, just so we get it recorded. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ernest and I represent industry in BC. We actually were approached by one of our UBC customers who wanted us to put some contributions. And I was actually wondering if this was an in-kind contribution, cash, labor, what type of contributions would you accept from industry?
For both programs?
Yeah, for both programs, I guess that's the question.
Cash is always best.
Cash is king, yes, we know that.
But having said that, we have a number of programs, one of our major public-private partnerships where there is cash, but there's also a very valuable in-kind, and that is the interchange of technical staff and intellectual information between the two groups. And so it's quite possible that if that in-kind really brings value to the project, that we would be able to consider it. Right?
Yeah, and I would say we're in a very similar circumstance. I mean, clearly cash is always the preferred entity. But Cindy's last point's key. I mean, is if there is how you can value that contribution if it's in kind, and that's always. I mean, the devil's in the details there.
Sure. Thanks. So I guess equipment, reagents, supplies, would those be appropriate? I mean, we've actually had a lot of support from the government of Canada, the MCERT and IRAP programs, to develop a lot of technology and a fair bit of capital equipment. Right now we're selling some of those items, but to share within Canada is what our UBC customers actually wanted to see if we could do. So maybe I'll talk to Gabe at some point and see if this is going to work properly.
Can I just ask Gabe, would you like to comment?
He's hiding in the back as always.
Gabe, let's bring a microphone.
Brad, I think the easiest way to deal with this would be on a case-by-case basis.
It is.
Generally speaking, nothing that we said would be excluded as long as it's a direct and incremental.
Thank you. Yeah, and again, this gets back to this consultation period that is going to occur with any of these projects. I mean, you know, there's no way to genericize this, and it's not going to be in the guidelines. I mean, it's going to have to be on a case-by-case. And so please do reach out. If you have specific, you know, you can ask Gabe about that, and again, we're willing to consider.
Hello.
Yes.
So, you explained that this would be more of a pool program in which the users would be identified first. Could you expand on how those would be identified? Do you see it as a combination of Genomics, Genome Canada, finding those potential users that would be interested, or also research or programs that have already been involved with users and identified users who come to you? How do you see this happening?
So I'll start. So I think there'll be lots of ways that this is going to happen, and part of the consultation process is we are out there preparing the terrain for this, trying to get this on the radar of academics and, of course, the users. I think the sector strategy process that we're going through right now is really looking at user pull, and it will be introducing genomics, I think, to some end users where they haven't thought about it before. I know we were launching a program in Listeria with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and we invited the food processing industry representatives with us, and they were basically going, I need Genomics 101, you know, to really understand what value genomics can bring to my industry. And so I think there are some out there that are already primed and ready, those low-hanging fruit, and those are probably going to be the ones that we will see first. Probably existing partnerships that already exist, strong ones. And also, we're going to probably work a bit with IRAP in that they really have about 10,000 clients, small, medium enterprises in Canada. We're going to work with them to educate them about this program. And so I think there's a number of ways that we're going to do that.
Thanks, Cindy. You know, I'll just add a couple points. I mean, that, you know, what Genome BC is embarking on, and in many ways Genome Canada is going through the same thing right now, is we're looking at our strategic plan for 2015 to 2020, as Cindy mentioned about Genome Canada. And in doing that, one of the things that we believe that we really need to do is better understand what drives the economy of BC, so the economic sectors of importance, and specifically then for us putting on our genomics hat to say what are the things that are the needs of driving those economies that can intersect genomics. And so to do that, I mean, we've actually done quite a restructuring within our organization to be able to do that aggressively. And so, you know, and so I think that the point is that what we're really trying hard to do is we feel that we do have contacts in each of these sectors, but we feel it's the tip of the iceberg. So when we talk about mining, for instance, I mean, within a few blocks of here, there's hundreds of mining companies, and yet we only know of a couple of those. And so what we really need to do is reach out to those groups and really identify, is there or is there not an application that genomics can be, where genomics is useful. And so that's precisely what we're doing, and we're doing that in each one of our sectors right now. And this is a multi-year process. It's not something we're going to do and then put it on the shelf. We're going to continue to do this because we feel that identifying those opportunities and then reaching back to our community and helping the community actually address some of those needs is really what we need to do going forward. So I hope that helps. Bruce?
So Bruce, is Luongo still in Vancouver?
Yeah, I just wanted to report on the Vancouver Canucks.
Toronto was getting excited.
We can talk later. But congratulations to both the organizations for this program, these programs. I think this is terrific and builds on where we have been going, I guess. Question I have, and sort of seeing Angus Livingston sitting here to make me think about it, is it seems like an opportunity, you know, in an environment where there's business-led NCEs and there's more and more emphasis on the economy. You use the word a lot. Although you'll have many sectors involved in any of these projects, it won't be two sectors, it'll be multiple. There's always going to be intellectual property implied. And I think that it's difficult, but it would be a question to you. Have you thought about how you could use these programs to motivate streamlining or standardizing and also assisting the partners in paying for all of the intellectual property management that is implied in these programs? Because there's a lot of money, of course, in managing that IP. And just a curiosity whether you've had that discussion.
So we certainly have a lot of discussions about IP, and Angus has directed us to individuals to consult with in the past, and of course we always enjoy talking to him. I think that would be an absolute great outcome of this if we could do that. I'm not sure what it would take. Probably Angus has thought about this. I know he certainly has some very innovative approaches to doing things, and I would presume he's been discussing with Genome BC some of those ideas. But Bruce, I think that's a really good thing to talk about. The consultant that we've been working with, we worked with him and Angus before, and it might be a good time to actually have some of those types of discussions.
Yeah, and Bruce, it's a great question, and we can chat with Angus during the break, but yes, we have had discussions. I think that, you know, there's nothing like starting the relationship early. And because if the user really helps to define, you know, this is their need, then they're going to be willing to invest in that long term, is our belief. And in fact, there are many examples, I think, that underscore that. And I think the difference is that if we do it look the traditional way, where we develop the technology and then we look to partner that, then there's a big mountain to climb because you have to convince that partner that the investment is worthwhile. They're leveraging that against everything else. And also the dollars that it's going to take to drive that. So we believe if you do this at the early stage, which we intend to do, that will help to facilitate that. But obviously, it's an extremely important point because it gets exponentially more expensive as you move down the pipeline. I think we have time for one more question. Yes.
Hi, my name is Alvin Yanchuk. I'm from the Ministry of Forests.
I'm a bit confused. Are these competing programs, or like where would I apply to? I mean, you got 3 years of Genome Canada, so I'm going to apply to you. Just gives me an extra year.
So let me answer first and say that you know what we're really trying to do is these two programs are going to be complementary, and there's going to be a Genome BC program, our UPP program, and there's the GAPP program. And I think the point is that what we're going to do is we would enter into a dialogue with you, the end user, and what we would do is really define which program's best. Best for you. I mean, which one provides you the most opportunity for funding? Which one is the most tailor-made for your given circumstance? And in addition, there are other programs that we have within Genome BC that may be actually more applicable. Because we have proof of concept programs, we have strategic opportunity programs, we have other opportunities that in fact may be even more tailor-made for you given the specific circumstance. So we don't see these as competing at all. We see them as totally complementary, and we plan to run the program that way.
And I think that it works very well because to submit to Genome Canada, you go through Genome BC, and so they will be vetting everything and have the opportunity, as Brad said, to ensure you go into the right program. So I'm going to, Angus, okay, Angus. We can't end a meeting without Angus.
Thanks for the intro, Bruce. One of the things that we've seen, and really I got this from Precarn and Associates, the way that they had organized, users quite often aren't interested in the technologies, they're interested in the solution to their problems. And so what there will need to be, I think, often is a technology provider, a service provider, and that's where the IP will reside, that's where the investment will go. But if you talk to these mining companies, typically they're not interested in the technology. They say, how can I help you solve my problem and make that as efficient as possible? So I think we're going to see that as these programs roll out, that's going to be the route that we end up following. And that was really based on a lot of work that's been done over the years with Precarn Associates, which was in the intelligent systems place. And they worked after the same sector companies, but they always had a technology provider. It was always a three-party arrangement between an academic, a technology provider, which is often a startup, and the end user that said, I need a solution.
I'm going to say one more thing before Brad closes in that I'm not sure what Brad does these days because we don't go to libraries anymore. When we were graduate students, Brad would always say, I'm off to the library, which was code for I'm going sailing. So I'm not sure how he gets away with it these days.
So everybody, please join me in just thanking Cindy for making a trip out and telling us about the program, and she'll be around all day to answer questions. So thank you.